there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? In today's video, we're going to look at the results from the weekend. Some real doozies to talk about. We'll start off with the Premier League, of course. Then we will look at the Championship, because I want to have a moan about my club Swansea City. We'll also take a look at the Women's Super League, the Scottish Premiership. We'll have an update on how the playoffs are going in the MLS. We'll take a look at the Bundesliga, Serie A, especially because Roma very briefly, went top. The Eredivisie, where Ajax had a stinker. Ligue, where we've had a couple of different important matches over the weekend. La Liga, and we'll see how far we can go. Okay. I'm going to focus talking about the games that I watched this weekend. So I looked at the football this weekend and I made a couple of choices for which ones to watch. So I didn't actually get around to watch any Spanish games this weekend, but I watched Italian football, Dutch, 2 German matches, 2 Premier League matches, and I also watched the Superclásico between River Plate and Boca Juniors, my first ever Superclásico. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the video as well. Okay, so Premier League first and foremost. So let's look at that table. Arsenal, of course, dropped points. We have, after the international break, the North London derby. And there was a point in the weekend before Man City's game where between the match between Spurs and Manchester United, if one of them were to have won, they would have gone second briefly. So it was quite tight at the top of the table, apart from the lead that Arsenal's got, that 4-point lead. Although it could have been even better, but they had tough competition on the weekend. So Arsenal top, Man City second after that big win. We'll talk about that in a second. Chelsea third, Sunderland still flying high, unbeaten in 4 games now, with Fulham next to it not doing well. Tottenham, Aston Villa against Leeds, who are not doing well. Man United, Liverpool down in 8th. Bournemouth now slipping to 9th after 2 losses in a row, which is unusual for them. Crystal Palace up and down, but they've got Wolves to try and get themselves back on track, who might have a new manager by then. Brighton 11th, Brentford, Everton, Newcastle in 14th, with Man City next. Fulham leads Burnley, then West Ham after 2 wins on the trot, and Nuno Santos. Nottingham Forest gaining ground. They've got Liverpool next, which could be a really interesting match, and Wolves are bottom. Okay, so those matches we talked about. I watched this one, Tottenham against Man United. It was kind of a boring match up until the last 5 minutes. So, maybe 10 minutes. Burmo scored, lovely header to put Man United 1 up. And at that point I thought, you know what, this is going to finish 1-0. There's nothing happening. Tottenham had 0 creativity. They took Xavi Simons off and the crowd booed the decision. But then, ironically, the players that came on created the goal. So Tell, with a lovely spin and a bit of a deflection, went over the goalkeeper into the back of the net, scored in the 84th minute. Then Richarlison scored in the 91st. Audebert with a shot from distance, and then Richarlison very cleverly did a sort of back header into the bottom corner, nothing the goalkeeper could do. And then De Ligt ran up the other side, and with 10 men at this point, because Šeško had to go off injured, equalised in the 96th minute. So the last couple of minutes was absolutely amazing, but the earlier part of the match was completely forgettable. But yeah, I am a bit worried about Spurs' lack of creativity at the moment, particularly without, obviously, Kulusevski, present that their injuries are really costing them, because they are the players. Mohamed Kudus, you've got Kulusevski, I said, James Maddison, Berival. These are players, and obviously Solanke up front, that they desperately need back in the team. So I think the international window couldn't come at a better time for them, to be honest. But I was really impressed by Odebear, Udogi and Tell coming off the bench. I think they've really staked a claim to get more of a starting spot in the future. And I think that Xavi Simons is starting to fit into the pace of the Premier League, which is good news for Spurs, because obviously when he gets up and running he's going to be a fantastic player. Everton 2, Fulham 0. Fulham starting to look really, really in trouble, being sucked down into that bottom region, which they're not used to. West Ham, as I said earlier, important win over Burnley 3-2. Wilson, Souček and Walker-Peters with the goals. Sunderland were winning against Arsenal. Arsenal struck 2 with Saka and an absolute wonder goal outside the box from Trossard before Proby managed to get the equaliser in the 94th minute. A little bit of controversy. Some people suggesting that there was a foul or two in the build-up to that one. I've seen the goal. I didn't think there was that much going on, to be honest. I thought it was okay. But, this is a bit of a setback. I don't think it'll really stop Arsenal's progression at the top. It's more a sign of Sunderland's progression in rejoining Premier League. Chelsea beating Wolves comfortably 3-0. Gusto with a rare goal. They took a while to break through because Wolves, under this different manager, sort of I think they've got the assistant manager or whoever, under 21 manager, in charge temporarily, so they sort of packed the box, and eventually lovely ball in from Garnacho. Gusto scored, João Pedro with a second, and then Neto. It looked quite easy at that point. Aston Villa beating Bournemouth 4-0. Buendia, Onana, Barkley and Donimala with the goals. A bit of a surprise, Bournemouth slipping a little down the table. Brentford with 2 late goals. Newcastle were winning through Barnes and then Shada. Thiago with a penalty, and then a 95th minute extra goal against Newcastle. So Newcastle still on a bit of a bad run. Crystal Palace, Brighton 0-0. Espiritu Nuno Santos getting another... Oh, sorry, no, that's West Ham. Ironic I should say that, obviously, because they are only starting to recover after him leaving and then Postecoglou coming in. So yeah, they've actually got a win. So 3-1, and Sean Dyche, of course, Sangare, Gibbs White and Anderson, and apparently man of the match was Nico, so that's really good. But the Welsh players, obviously, for Leeds not having a good game. And then Man City, Liverpool, I went out for dinner, had some lovely Korean food actually, so I didn't watch this match, but yeah, Man City beat Liverpool 3-0, Haaland with another goal. Gonzalez, and as I said earlier on, Doku, by all accounts, it was an absolutely amazing performance, but similar to Wales, Liverpool just didn't manage him at all. Not ideal. That he plays primarily on the left, and that down the right is Liverpool's absolute weak spot at the moment, so I can see how that would have gone badly. It's the Premier League Championship. Coventry top. Still Middlesbrough about to lose their manager by the sounds of it. Really shocking decision by him. Can't understand why he wants to leave. I know he's got like some emotional connection and his family lives in the area of Wolves apparently, but who can they buy? And no one survived at this point in history with so few points in the Premier League, so what can he do realistically? Whereas with staying with Middlesbrough, he's probably going to get promoted and supported, but he's probably going to only last a couple of months at Wolves, so really odd decision for him. Stoke in third, And Preston North End doing brilliantly. They are up into 4th. Hull City and then Millwall still up there. Ipswich climbing now. They got Wrexham next. They just obviously beat quite handsomely Swansea. Bristol dropping a little now with no win in 3, but don't worry guys. You got the derby after the international break against Swansea. We'll give you some points. Don't you worry about that. Charlton Athletic, Derby, Birmingham, Leicester, Wrexham, who have not lost in 5 now. West Brom, Watford, Queen's Park, Southampton, and then Swansea, who haven't got a win in 4 matches, and in 3 matches, I suppose. Yeah, we're really starting to struggle, particularly away from home. We've never been that great, but even at home now we're losing points, which didn't happen previously. So the weird thing is we're still playing nice football, and I don't usually dare to read the comments on BBC from general members of the public because they're usually awful, but fair play, all the Preston from the 2 matches ago, the midweek match against Preston when we narrowly lost to them up there in Deepdale, they're all incredibly kind about our style of football and how entertaining we are and how silky, our passing is and whatnot. But yeah, we are playing nice football, but we're not scoring goals at the minute, and we've started to concede them, so it's just not working. The manager's under a little bit of pressure because we did, for once in our lives, actually spend some money in the summer. And the whole narrative was try and get into the playoffs, not necessarily go up, but just try and get into the playoffs. Blackburn, Portsmouth, Oxford, Sheffield United, Norwich, and Sheffield Wednesday. Norwich, I think, have just sacked their manager as well, haven't they? Got Birmingham next. Okay, quick look at League One. Stockport County and Bradford City are towards the top of that one. Cardiff now got down into 4th after a very early good start has started to have a slump. Stevenage still up there, and Lincoln City in 6th. And then in League 2, Walsall are top, just over goal difference over Swindon. Notts County are also there. Salford City, Milton Keynes Dons, Grimsby and Gillingham in the hunt. And then the Women's Super League, Man City have gone top. They've got the derby against Man United next, looking pretty unstoppable. Chelsea are 2nd by only a point. They've got Liverpool, who are having a terrible season. Next, Man United are in 3rd, Arsenal are in 4th. With that goal that was disallowed for handball by Blackstenius, which was never a handball, like, so controversial. They really should have won that match. They've got their own derby against Spurs next, who they are just above. And then the London City Lioness is having a superb first ever season in the top division. They are in 6th. They've got Aston Villa next, West Ham down the bottom. Okay, in Scotland, Hearts could only draw on the weekend, so they've given away a little bit of space that they had over Celtic, and Rangers obviously have started to do very well with their new manager, so they are up to 4th, Celtic in 2nd after 2 wins on the bounce. And let's just double check that result. So Rangers beat Dundee 3-0, Raskin, Moore and Gassama with the goals. Hearts drew with Dundee United, Kucherenko with the own goal, but then Stevenson for Dundee. Just couldn't break them down, but Celtic didn't have a problem at Killie. 4-0, Kenny, Tierney, Maeda and Engels with a penalty. Okay, in Wales, TNS are still mightily top, but they did lose their last game, but then so did Penybont, so that was kind of pointless, and Caernarfon only drew, so they're miles behind. Llanelli are down the bottom. Haverfordwest did this last season. They were down the bottom for ages, and then they stormed up. Managed to get in a European spot, so we'll see if they can do the same this year. Who beat TNS then? Oh yeah, that was right, they lost at home, which is incredibly unusual, to Cardiff Met University, who, if you don't know, are, most of all but TNS in the league are amateurs, but Cardiff Met University are also like under 21s, but they do have some crazy results, so yeah, well done to them. And then in Northern Ireland, Coleraine are top, Larne are second, Glentoran are with 2 games to spare, and Glentoran are third, Linfield then fourth, Bangor in 6th, Portadown in 10th, and Glenavon in 12th. Okay, MLS, this best of 3 malarkey is over by the looks of it. I think the last result was early hours this morning for us. So we have the one-off playoffs now. San Diego are going to go against Minnesota. There's not even 2 legs at this point. It doesn't make any sense. 3 legs in the last one. Vancouver are going to go against LAFC. Philly are up against New York City FC. And Cincinnati take on Inter Miami, who have beaten their demons and finally made it past the first knockout round. Obviously they are at the minute one of the favourites, but I don't think you can discount San Diego, who have been really impressing me. So let's have a quick look at the results. San Diego put up Portland, who are usually right up there towards the end. So that's a very impressive result, as Seattle can be as well. So that's a very good result for Minnesota. Vancouver beating Dallas, and LAFC beating Austin. Then Cincinnati beating Chicago. New York City FC beating Charlotte narrowly. Cincinnati beating Columbus Crew. And then Miami beating Nashville, that final one of 4-0, where Messi basically absolutely stormed through. He scored 2 and made the other 2 for Allende. So yeah, he is really driving them on before his teammates, his mates from Barcelona, retire this at the end of this season. Okay, so I watched a couple of Bundesliga games this weekend. News, everyone, Bayern Munich dropped some points. So their history-making start of the season is over, but they're still 6 points ahead of Leipzig. Borussia Dortmund in 3rd, Stuttgart in 4th, who play Borussia Dortmund in the next match after the international window. Then Bayer Leverkusen, then Hoffenheim, Frankfurt in 7th, Werder Bremen in 8th, Köln in 9th, Freiburg, Union Berlin, who were those that managed to get the draw out of Bayern. Well done. Borussia Mönchengladbach in 12th. Hamburger starting to settle down a little bit in this league. Was much more difficult when they first came up, but they're starting to get some points now. Wolfsburg in 14th, Augsburg, and then city rivals of Hamburger, St. Pauli, who beat them in the derby early on in the season, are in a really bad spot. Mainz also, and then Heidenheim down the bottom. Let's look at some fixtures then. So I watched Werder Bremen against Wolfsburg on Friday night. Very fun match to watch. Steyer with the first goal in Svanberg scored the first goal. Kind of against the run of play, and then Steyer and Mangula scored at the end to please the home crowd. So that was a very back and forth game, but I thought Werder Bremen were good for their money. And Leverkusen beat Heidenheim 6-0. Hamburger drew with Dortmund, 97th minute equaliser from Königsdörfer. Leipzig lost to Hoffenheim, Diomande with their goal, but Haidari, Lempel and Prömel with the goals for Hoffenheim. But let's check out the score. So Schick scored 2 and Maza scored 2, as well as Hoffmann and Boku for Leverkusen, was starting to recover after Ten Hag. Union Berlin 2, Bayern Munich 2, Tuchy with 2 goals, and then Luis Diaz and Kane, the usual suspects. This is the other match I watched. Mönchengladbach beating local rivals Köln. Yeah, I turned it off before the end, so I didn't see the penalty from Waldschmidt. But it was kind of even up until half time, so Sander just scored before half time, And then they took off their star youngster, Cologne did, and his name has totally escaped me, Almala, who was having a really quiet game. And yeah, they just kind of capitulated in the second half. They didn't really have a plan then. And then Dick scored a penalty, and Tabakovic scored as well when Cologne sort of piled forward. So yeah, a bit of a bad match against Mönchengladbach. Freiburg beating St. Pauli 2-1, Stuttgart beating Augsburg 3-2, and Frankfurt beating local rivals across the river, Mainz 1-0 with a goal from Doan, who I thought, when they signed him from Freiburg in the summer, I thought that is an astute purchase. Very briefly, Paderborn are top and Schalke are second in the second Bundesliga, Hannover in 5th and Kaiserslautern in 7th. Serie A, where I've said for years, is way more unpredictable in terms of who's going to win the Scudetto, than most leagues in Europe, in the top leagues in Europe anyway. And at the minute we have like a 5-horse race, and if Juve get their stuff together with their new manager, maybe even a 6-horse race. It changed 4 times over the weekend, so Napoli were top on Saturday morning, Milan drew, and Napoli lost, meaning that their goal difference went down from 8 to 6. So Milan went top like midday without even having played a match, because Napoli lost. Then on Sunday Roma went top, and then an hour later Inter went top. So that's how crazy Serie A is at the moment. Bologna having a fantastic time of it recently. We'll look at their excellent result in a moment. And Juve have got bottom team, I cannot believe I'm saying that, bottom team Fiorentina, next Como in 7th, Sassuolo, Lazio, Udinese, Cremonese, Torino, Atalanta down in 13th. It's the Juric effect, they've got Napoli next. And then Cagliari, Lecce, Pisa, Parma, Genoa, Verona and Fiorentina sadly at the bottom. Pisa beating Cremonese 1-0, Como, Cagliari 0-0, Lecce, Verona 0-0, city rivals Juve and Torino drawing 0-0 with their new manager, of course, Spalletti. Parma drew with Milan, Salamakas with a goal and Rafael Bernabé and Del Prato for Parma. And then Atalanta lost at home to Sassuolo, who've just been promoted, 3-0, 2 goals from the excellent Berardi and another from Pinamonti. Then Bologna stunned Napoli with a 2-0 win. They're on such a good run. Dalinga and Lukumi with the goals. Genoa could only draw with Fiorentina, Ustigar, Colombo, and then Gudmundsson and Piccoli. No goal from Moise Kean this week. Roma then beat Udinese 2-0, goal from Pellegrini, and then a lovely team goal finished off by Celik to do 2-0, but then Dovbyk got injured, so we don't have a striker. Well, Evan Ferguson will be called up to Ireland, so I'm hoping that he's going to be fit after the window. And Dybala's out, Dovbyk got injured, so yeah, we were playing like with no striker, which isn't great. But Pellegrini is in amongst the goals at the moment. He looked bright, and he got that penalty. We've missed a couple of penalties recently, so that was good. But yeah, we are lacking a little bit of creativity at the minute. I think it's all falling on Matthias Soule's shoulders, which is a bit unfortunate. And then Inter beating Lazio 2-0, Martinez obviously, and Boni with a goal as well. So Christian Kiew's men have gone top after a very slow start to the season. Very exciting league this year. Quick glance at Serie B. Monza and Modena are at the top of it, but a couple of other teams like Venezia involved as well. Okay, Eredivisie, PSV are top. They're on a brilliant run at the moment. Feyenoord, who have dropped points at the weekend, are in second. Alkmaar are third. Ajax, who are all over the place at the minute. They just sacked John Heitinga after like what was it, 13? No, including the Champions League, 15 games in charge, something, 16 games in charge. And then the sporting director offered his resignation for appointing someone that just was totally out of their depth, and they declined because they didn't want to have to get a new sporting director as well as a new manager. So the hunt is on over the break. I'm listening to see who they appoint now over the international break. And then Utrecht, who have had a tough time, had a brilliant match against Ajax. We'll have a look. Groningen in 6th, Nijmegen in 7th, Twente. Then the Go Ahead Eagles, Fortuna Sittard, Sparta Rotterdam, Heerenveen, Volendam, who have done got a couple of excellent results recently. Breda, Zwolle, Excelsior, Telstar, and Heracles. Although Heracles won like 8-2 or something the other week, even though they're bottom. So yeah, let's focus on the Utrecht match against Ajax. Dida with the first goal in Hots with a fantastic equaliser, and then coming back to haunt Ajax, their former player, obviously twice former player of Utrecht, Sebastian Haller, with a goal as well, who looked, towards the start of the match he looked a little bit out of depth actually, but he grew into the match. He's never been the paciest, but yeah, if they play the ball to him, he's always going to create chances. Obviously Ajax felt that the referee was letting a lot of the sort of more physical challenges go, and Ajax didn't like that. There was a couple of occasions when El Karawani really was last man and could have been given like quite serious red cards for taking down, was it Hots who was fouling? No, it was actually the, who was it? Good lineup is the guy with Edvardsen, who felt he sort of got around El Karawani a couple of times, but they would have been a bit soft, and I don't disagree with the manager, with the referee at all. Also, Weghorst got it in the back of the net, but earlier on in the move there was a foul, and it was a really clear foul actually, which the referee completely missed from the angle, but then when he was shown it, you can see that actually he doesn't get the ball at all, and but the ball goes in the direction as if he had, so I can see why the referee from his position would have thought it was not a foul. So then VAR suggested you go take a look at it, and it was ruled out, and Weghorst was completely furious, but I don't think he will be if he sees that replay. The same replay that we got to see. Glow with a very quiet match for his standard. And yeah, I thought Alders was a little bit out of its depth, particularly with the height, and also Rodriguez, who is playing some fantastic football. I thought De Witt was very clever, let's use that word, with the referee letting a lot of stuff go. He was fouling people all over. He should have got a couple of yellow cards, he didn't even get one. So if I were an Ajax supporter, I would be pretty furious. But it was sort of 50-50 decisions which the referee let go, with a completely different referee, one who he would have given like 1,000 fouls, because Utrecht were very physical, and it was the right tactic for that referee. On a different day with a different referee, they wouldn't have been able to build up play the way and disrupt Ajax as much. They really had Ajax's number, and they have beaten them, particularly at home, a number of occasions now. I think it's something like the last 3 times. So yeah, the Ajax's bogey team. Volendam beating Breda 2-1 with goals from Veerman and Muren. And PSV with a big win against Alkmaar, 5-1 junior hat-trick from Hustil and Veerman as well with a goal. And Feyenoord lost to Go Ahead Eagles. Dale and James with the 2 goals, Dean James, and Watanabe with a sort of consolation goal. Canada is in the playoffs, I believe. Or have we finished? Let's find out. Oh, do we have a winner? Oh, in the snow, look at that. Oh my god. So, congratulations to to Atletico Ottawa, who apparently have beaten Cavalry and won the league. So 2 goals from Rodriguez, one after extra time, or one during extra time, excuse me. So congratulations to Atletico Ottawa for that. Okay, Ligue 1. Paris Saint-Germain have gone back to top after beating Lyon in the Sunday night match. Marseille were briefly top. Bit of an exciting, just like in France and Italy, actually a bit more exciting this year in France. Lens in third, who are equal on points with Marseille. Strasbourg, Lille, Monaco, Lyon and Rennes make up the top 8. Nice just below that in 9th. They've got Marseille next. And down the bottom we have Nantes, Lorient and Auxerre. Rennes getting a win away to Paris FC, Mbolo, a player I really like. Marseille beating Brest 3-0. Gomez, Greenwood and Aubameyang with the goals. Then we saw Lens beating Monaco 4-1. Edouard, 2 from Saïd and 1 from Sangaré. And then Strasbourg beat Lille, Emera with 2 goals. And the Sunday night match, 10-man, Lyon lost at home to Paris Saint-Germain. Moreira and Maitland-Niles with the 2 goals for the home team. And 95th minute winner from Neves after Zaire Emery and Kvara scored for Paris Saint-Germain to win it and go back top. Oops, I forgot. The A-League. Brief look at Australia, then Auckland are still top, Sydney in 2nd, Melbourne in 3rd, Wellington Phoenix in 7th, Melbourne Victory in 9th, Western Sydney in 11th and Perth down the bottom. Wellington Phoenix lost at home in the New Zealand derby to 9-man Auckland with 2 goals from Cosgrove. And where's Sydney? Sydney beat Macarthur 2-0 with a goal from Tisserand and Lolly in the 94th minute. Okay, in La Liga, Real Madrid are still top, 3 points ahead of Barcelona after Real Madrid drew on the weekend against Rayo Vallecano. Villarreal in 3rd, Atleti in 4th, Real Betis in 5th and Espanyol in 6th. Athletic Club have got Barcelona next and they're in 7th. Getafe, Sevilla, Deportivo Alavés, Elche, Rayo Vallecano in 12th. Celta Vigo, Real Sociedad, who've gone up a little bit with no losses in 4 matches. Mallorca, Osasuna, Valencia, who are still struggling this season. Girona in 18th now, come up from the bottom. Levante and down the bottom are Real Oviedo. Elche drew with Real Sociedad, 1-1 with a late equaliser from the penalty spot by Oyarzabal. Girona beating Alavés, Sevilla beating Osasuna, 1-0 with a goal from Vargas from the penalty spot. Atleti beating Levante 3-1, De La Fuente on goal, 2 more goals from Antoine Griezmann. Espanyol lost home to Villarreal 2-0. Atleti beat Real Oviedo 1-0 with a goal from Nico Williams. Apparently it was a terrible ball draw. Alonso's side draw blank in drab draw in the one of the lesser known Madrid derbies. Mallorca beat Getafe 1-0. Real Betis drawing in Valencia 1-0. Rioja equalising after Hernandez had opened the scoring for the away team. And then Celta Vigo lost at home to 10-man Barcelona with a returning hat-trick for Lewandowski and another goal for Lamine Yamal. Carreira and Iglesias with the 2 goals for the home team. And in La Liga 2, Racing Santander are top. Deportivo La Coruña, it'd be lovely to see them back in the Premier League. In La Liga, they are in 2nd. Las Palmas, Burgos, Almería and Cádiz make up the top 6. Super League, actually Galatasaray lost this weekend. Fenerbahce in 2nd and Trabzon. They've got all of their badges wrong. Oh no, not all of the badges. Besiktas, Trabzon. They've got the badges wrong. See if it'll fix it. Hang on. Oh no, that is the right badge. There we are, they got the right badges. So Fenerbahce have closed in. They're now within a point after a draw and a loss for Galatasaray have ended their streak of being unbeaten this season. Trab are in third, Samsunspor, Göztepe and Beşiktaş are in sixth. Konyaspor in ninth, Başakşehir 12th, Antalyaspor 13th. Down the bottom, Kayserispor, Eyüpspor and Fatih Karagümrük. That loss, by the way, came from Kocaelispor, 1-0 RJ with the only goal, whilst Fenerbahce beat Kayserispor 4-2. Marco Asensio, 2 goals from Nene and 1 from Atakolu, whilst Beşiktaş won away to Antalyaspor 3-1, Tammy Abraham, Jallo and Silva with the goals. Okay. The Allsvenskan finished this season, Mjällby scoring late to beat previous champions from a couple of years ago, Häcken. Mjällby top by a country mile, 13 points ahead from this tiny little village. They've got an opportunity now to get into Europe next year. Congratulations. Hammarby in second and Gais in third. Relegated are Öster and Värnamo, with Norrköping in the playoff. Serie A in Brazil, Palmeiras are top, but they've dropped some points. And Flamengo in second on goal difference. Oh, actually it's head-to-head then, because their goal difference is better than Palmeiras. Cruzeiro in third, Mirassol still doing brilliantly in fourth. Then Bahia and Botafogo in fifth and sixth. Fluminense, Sao Paulo, Atlético, Vasco da Gama, Red Bull and Ceará make up the top 12, and down the bottom Santos, Juventude, Fortaleza and Sport Recife. That loss from Palmeiras came last night our time, to Mirassol. 2 goals, Gabriel and Victor. We're cancelling out Roqui's goal for Palmeiras. Flamengo beating Santos 3-2. Pereira, Carrascal and Enrique with the goals to cancel out Bontempo and Diaz. And Ugalo winning away to Sport Recife, 4 goals, another one from Hulk, still going, 2 from Rony and 1 from Gomes. And then in Ireland, Shamrock Rovers finished? Yeah, we finished. Shamrock Rovers are champions. It was going to be very difficult to catch them. Derry City finish in second, 3 points behind. Congratulations to Shamrock. They also won the cup, so they've done the double. Shelbourne in third, Bohemian in fourth, and on the bottom Cork with Waterford in the playoffs. Galway City managed to survive on goal difference by the looks of it. Well done to them. And Shamrock Rovers beat Galway to win on, was that Saturday or Friday? I couldn't see. With a goal from Watts, 1-0. Okay, and then Ekstraklasa in Poland, Górnik Zabrze still top. Jagiellonia Białystok catching up though. And Wisła Płock in third, Raków Częstochowa in fourth. Surprisingly, Lech Poznan in eighth, Legia Warszawa in 11th. Down the bottom, Legia, Temelica and Piast Gliwice. Finland, I think, has finished. Yes, we have a champion. It is Kups, with Intertogu coming second, 6 points behind, and Ilves in third. Congratulations to Kups. And then in Argentina, I watched the Superclásico, which was my first time actually. I hadn't seen one before. So Boca Juniors against River Plate in La Bombonera. Fantastic, absolutely amazing atmosphere, like crazy. They love their football over there. 2 goals from the home team, Ceballos, who is having a breakout season, really impressive, and then Merentiel. He used to play for Sevilla in Spain. and yeah, quite a lot of recognisable faces on the pitch. But River Plate's tactics just didn't allow them to get anywhere near goal. They started off playing like a back five, and yeah, they had very few opportunities up until maybe injury time. There was like 8 minutes of injury time or something, and if I'm thinking of the right match, and they sort of got a couple of corners and made a few chances right at the end when they were already 2-0 down. But then Ceballos was, going very well on the counter-attack at that point, so he was very clearly the man of the match. Yeah, so that's the first time I've seen such a game, and Dua Lipa was in the stand because she's doing a concert at River Plate's stadium at the moment. So they invited her across, and very cleverly, she didn't wear because she's in River Plate Stadium doing the concerts, and she was invited by Boca Juniors to watch the match. So she turned up, but she was very clever. She wore an Argentina national team shirt, so she couldn't get accused of bias. But yeah, the camera kept on cutting to her every now and again to watch the match. So yeah, well done to Boca Juniors. I think there's one more match left in the league stage. I think they were saying, yeah, one more match, and then we go into the playoffs. So in terms of the table, Zone A, Boca are top after that win, and almost surely into the playoffs are Union, Central Córdoba, Tigre, although actually there's like a very small number of points between them. Barracas, Racing, Estudiantes and Banfield currently, but Belgrano, Defensa Justicia, Huracán, even Argentinos Juniors can all catch them. And then in Zona B, Rosario Central top, Deportivo Riestra, Lanús, Sarsfield, San Lorenzo, River Plate, who fell down dangerously. They wouldn't want to miss out. They were really quite close to the top, but they are on a bit of a bad run. Look, 1 win in 5. Talleres in 7th and San Martín San Juan in 8th. But lots of teams, look, even on the same points, let alone within catching distance. Sarmiento, Gimnasia, Atlético Tucumán, Instituto can all catch. Oh no, Instituto cannot catch, sorry. So it's all down to the wire in the last game. And very quickly then, Mexico, Toluca still top, Tigre second, Cruz Azul do not have that badge here, that's that badge. Club América, Monterrey, go through a bit of a poor patch. Chivas, Tijuana, Juárez, Pachuca and Pumas back up. Aaron Ramsey has unfortunately left them now. And yeah, so Puebla down the bottom. No relegations this year, but they will return next year. América could only draw with Juárez, 1-1, Cendejas with the goal for the away team. And Cruz Azul drew with Mazatlán, Pachuca beat Monterrey, goes from Cádiz, Figueroa and Montiel. And Universidad Nacional lost to Santos 3-0, Toluca beating Necaxa 3-1, Ruiz, Angulo and Elinho with the goals. Okay, super quick before we finish in Liga Portugal. Porto are currently top, 9, 10, 11, 3 points ahead of Sporting, Benfica just below them. Gil Vicente are in 4th, with Aruca, Tondela and AVS Futebol down the bottom. In Belgium, Union Saint-Gilloise are top, Club Brugge are 2nd, Anderlecht, Sint-Truiden, Gent and Mechelen make up the top 6. Genk still outside of the top 6 in 7th, but they've stopped losing at least. They just draw too many matches now. And then down the bottom, Leuven, Royal Antwerp, crazily, Cercle Bruges and Dender. And I think we'll stop there. Okay, thank you so much everyone for watching. I really appreciate you giving up your time. I hope you find it relaxing and enjoyed the catch-up and all of the info from the matches I'd managed to watch. If you enjoyed the video, of course, don't forget to click like, leave a comment, let me know if you're happy with your team at the moment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do this every week, more or less, both for the leagues I'll see you again really soon.